you can't change what has already been written, right? I know there was talks of like people removing God, religion, and everything above, right? But in reality, you can remove everything, but what's there is still there, right? And there was talks like of people telling an actual truth, right? Or people telling a white lie. A white lie is just the in between, right? You're not telling a full circle of what you're talking about. But in reality, you can't take away what life has already held. Like, what life has already had to offer, right? You can't take that away because life still stands in many generations, right? Many life pathways, many life cycles. And I attend Life Church. I do. And it was movie night, right? And I watched the movie online, and the movie was about a couple, and the couple were rock stars, right? And with the movie, somebody kept wrecking into their house after a while. They made their money, they became settled, everything was great, right? And something kept wrecking into their house. Something kept wrecking into their house, right? And something kept wrecking into their house, right? And eventually the husband grows sick, right? But sometimes life speaks to you, right? It's just about finding what life is trying to speak to you about, right? And what I think life was speaking to them about is for them to see their true selves, right? They kept using they sat at a table, and when you sit at a table, that's family, right? When you sit around a table with that's family you sit around, right? With, and you know each other by your names, right? But in reality, in your heart, you know their names. But in my mindset, what if they got so wrapped up in their stage names that they lost full circle of what life holds, right? Sometimes people do that. They get caught up in their stage names and they get lost in what the cycle actually holds. You know what I mean? So in the midst of them sitting at home, someone kept wrecking into their home because that's where they created their stage names at. You know what I mean? So in reality, you can't go throughout life with a false livelihood. You know what I mean? You got to keep it real about who you are. You can't, like how I heard a pastor say, you can't take bits and pieces out of the Bible and say, like, this is what I need. You know what I mean? The Bible is a whole full circle of life, right? As to is other people's religions, right? Because there were other people that walked the face of the earth with different religions, different livelihoods, different walks, right? So that's how life takes to. And I'll be honest, I messed this dude's car up one day, right? And I called some friends, right? Did I label them as my friends? Not really. But I called them and I said, hey, I need y'all to do me a favor. Dad's like, what? I said, I gotta go mess this. I told him the story. I told him the situation. I was like, I gotta go mess this dude's car up real quick. So I grabbed a Snickers. I was gonna put a Snickers in his gas tank, right? And I put nail polish all over his car, right? And then the sun started heating, right? I knew it was gonna get hot, and I knew once nail polish sticks on stuff, it just gets really hot, right? So it became a back and forth. It was like a laugh out loud game type situation after that. Like, so he does what he needs to do to his vehicle and he drives past my house. Look what I did. You know what I mean? So in reality, after that, my mirror got knocked off. My rear view mirror got knocked off. My right rear view mirror. But also after that, I was talked about on social media by the people, but they weren't my friends though. They weren't my friends like that. So I was talked about on social media after I did that. Like, oh no, sometimes people like to see you at your lowest point, right? But in reality, I wasn't at my lowest point. It was more so I was like, I don't want everybody knowing my business. I don't want everybody knowing what I be doing, right? Or what I be going through. You know what I mean? And I felt embarrassed. I felt really embarrassed. You know what I mean? But they started talking about me on social media, and they was like, oh, she be thinking she's better than everybody, and she's not better than anybody. You know what I mean? But I never portrayed myself to be better than anybody, right? But that's just an example of putting your life out there, but not putting your life out there, right? And life circling back around to you, right? And the Snickers conversation. I love Snickers was like my favorite go to when my mom would give me some food stamps and I go to the store. I would get like a Snickers and I get a bag of chips and I get a pop, you know. But life just takes you in that full course circle, right? Whereas communication with another dude, Snickers came up, right? So it was like life was telling me Snickers, 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 right? Snickers, right? Run. You know what I mean? You know, go to the store, grab a Snickers, you know, run. Go to the store and grab a Snickers, right? That's what life was telling me, right? So, it's funny, right? Because life already seen my life cycle. Life already seen my walk, right? I was walking to the store. I walked to the store by myself as a kid, and I always walked to the store by myself, unless I made some friends where we lived at, you know, which wasn't unusual. But life takes you to where you need to go to. But I think it's just seeing the reality of who you are. And I think we're in a truth season. We're in a truth season. And it's more so like seeing your own true reality and where you are and where you stand at, and your life layers, you know what I mean? You can't sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to point the blame at that person. It's like, sometimes it's like truth and figuring out situations, right? So I knew I was at a phase in my life where I was like, I have to figure some stuff out, you know what I mean? And I have to just figure some stuff out. But I think it's more about people seeing their true selves, you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. But I could read Psalms 25, a Psalm of David. Unto thee, O Lord, unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Oh my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not my enemies triumph over me. Oh boy. Oh boy. Right. So I think it's like not letting your enemies triumph over you. It's like, who do you determine as your enemies, right? You grow older, and who do you actually determine as your enemies? Because you're growing older, right? You're growing older. You're becoming an adult. But at the same time, it's like, were those friends truly my enemies? What did they have against me that I didn't see? You know what I mean? Sometimes we got to think about that in life, right? So I never called them my friends, but we never had that conversation. Like, what was the problem? Then again, another situation came around. So situations just go roundabout, right? Where some people find it okay to keep stepping on somebody, right? Stepping on somebody is like just going and stepping on somebody because you feel like you're bigger than them. And I never portrayed myself to be bigger than anybody. You know what I mean? I was always welcoming to everybody, but at some point, people would say I was tired a lot, but at some point, there's a distance. But when there's a distance, there's always time and need be for like rest and maintaining your peace and finding your own full circle, right? Because when you find your own full circle, you see solace in what life has for you. And you still may run into those same circles where they be like, oh, the same circles. Like, life took me in the same circles. Like, look, Shanto. Look, Shanto, the only thing I wasn't grabbing the Snickers, you know? But I do like Snickers. I do. But I haven't been eating the Snickers. But it's just, life just takes you in a full circle. If you don't resolve situations or get past situations, they just circle right back around. No matter what. Even when you think you do get past situations, they circle right back around. Not even realizing why, you know? But life to me holds values, you know what I mean? Find every moment and every piece of gap, you know, every moment. Find every moment. I find every moment life values, no matter what happens, you know? So, all right, that's it for now.